for restrooms, straight down the hall and on your right. So with that, so one of the things we want to make sure that you are getting is timely information, accurate and timely information. We have set up a Facebook page. We also have our information on IncyWeb. We are co-sharing between the sheriff's office and our office. When they put out something regarding the evacuations or any closures, we share that. When we put out our stuff, they share that. So we want to make sure that you guys are getting, like I say, fast, accurate information. Tonight, this meeting is not going to be live streamed. You already see one of the reasons why. We do run into some of these problems. So we are recording, and it will be posted on Facebook as soon as possible tomorrow morning. We also have a YouTube channel that it is going to be tied to also. For those who don't do Facebook, you have that option for that. We also, you notice that we have these little contact cards out there, has a QR code on it. That QR code, if you scan it with your phone, will go to a link tree that will take you to all the areas that I just mentioned. If you're not familiar with how to do that, I'm going to real quick just give you our paper here, sorry. Our fire information number is 970-325-3056. Our email.
Could you repeat the phone number?
You bet. I'll repeat it 3 times because I know how that goes. 970-325-3056. Does that need to be repeated? We're good? Perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay, so as you can see, this is our email address. You've got the Go Fire Information phone line, your county evacuation hotline. So go ahead and jot those down if you need them. Okay. So tonight, like I say, we're going to go through and hear from our key people here. They've got operations from our Rocky Mountain team that will, our operations section chief, who will talk to us about what's going on out there right now, what you possibly expect in the future. Also, we have our weather and fire, our meteorologist, who will also talk to us about what's going on with the weather and how that is affecting the fire behavior. And then we'll go into evacuations, and that will be with Sheriff Perry. We'll also have our agency administrators, so Dana Gardunio is with the U.S. Forest Service, and then Mike Miggle is with the U.S. Wildland Fire Service. And then we'll close out with our incident commander, Casey Cheeseborough. So to start off, I'm going to introduce Tyler Nathy. He's our operations section chief.
Okay, good evening. Like Cass mentioned, Tyler Nathy, I'm one of the operations section chiefs here with Rocky Mountain Team 3. I'll kind of go through a brief overview of where we sit on the fire, talk about some of the conditions that you guys are seeing outside with the giant smoke column, and then a little bit about the challenges that some of our firefighters are facing out there. And that'll tie in with the weather that Scott will talk about here in just a second. So looking at the fire here, we took over last night at 1800, and so today is really kind of our first operational period. We've got folks out there. Really our primary focus when we come into these incidents is identifying those values at risk within the communities and prioritizing our efforts towards protecting those. So that includes the town of Ouray, the whole Highway 550 corridor, all the way up into Ridgway, across County Road 12 into the Cow Creek area. And then, I'll get into talking about further out as we talk about strategic planning for, in the future and some of what it's doing today. So what we've got as far as today's operation goes here, right here down towards the town of Ouray, this is Division Alpha. And in there is where a lot of the good work that the initial responders did when they first got here. in protecting those homes and the infrastructure there around Lake Lenore. So really our concentrated effort in there, again, today with those folks is really buttoning up and securing all of the heat and the fire activity that's around those homes around Lake Lenore. So we really want to make sure that we're taking care of that and we're tucking that in so we can remove the threat to those private residences. Moving over into Division Bravo, we start to get into a little bit more challenging country. You guys live here, you know what the San Juans and the wilderness up there looks like. Super steep, really beautiful, but very steep and challenging terrain to access. So in Division Bravo, they're working along the 550 corridor there. Same kind of thing. Their priority is to make sure we're working the heat along the edge there that's threatening those structures along that corridor. And then they're looking for opportunities up here a little bit farther where it gets over to kind of Dexter Creek drainage of where we can grab a hold of it and tie it off down into the 550 road. It puts it in some better, more easily accessible terrain for the firefighters. It's safer for them to operate. And what that allows us to do is to be able to control that on our terms instead of waiting for the fire to dictate that for us. So that puts us in a much better, more favorable position. So they're working on developing that plan and starting to implement that stuff as we move forward. Out in Division Charlie and in Division Delta, as being new to the incident, we're getting resources continually trickling in, but it's been a challenge with a lot of the activity here, kind of in the Southwest region and in Western Colorado, as you guys have seen in the news. There's a lot of competition for getting firefighting resources to where they belong. So that really just brings us back to prioritizing protecting what we know we have along the corridor. So Division Charlie and Delta, we've got team leadership that are out there and they're doing scouting and looking for those areas where it's going to be the best opportunity for success for us to get in there, find a good spot where we can start implementing some indirect tactics. That means like removing fuel ahead of the fire and then utilizing some controlled strategic firing operations. Again, that puts the control in our hands and not so much at the mercy of Mother Nature. So that's the work that's going on in Charlie and Delta right now. Kind of move into, we have some folks scouting out farther up towards the Owl Creek Pass and even over into the Silverjack Big Cimarron drainage as well. Part of our job as a team is to be looking really far out, 6, 7, 8, 12 days and try to forecast what this is going to do so that we're not surprised by the activity that we see. To move into some of the activity that we're currently seeing outside, what the fire has done today, and this perimeter doesn't reflect any of that. But as of last night, it had established down in the bottom of Cow Creek. And today, when the smoke lifted out and we got the red flag conditions that came in, as we expected, the fire jumped across the Cow Creek drainage and became really well established and made a pretty good push up towards the Owl Creek Pass area. And what we're looking at right now out there, you can kind of see the little spot piece out ahead of it. That's still on this side of Owl Creek Pass, but we're within a couple hundred yards of that road system and moving up towards that ridge line. So that's a little bit of the progression that we've seen this afternoon. Big fire day. We still have a couple more hours of active burn period, and then likely going into the evening as well. So that's some of the prioritization that goes on with some of the homes and structures identified out here in the lower Cow Creek drainage area. And we've got resources out there that are ready to engage and plug in and do point protection on homes and structures in there. So kind of with that, like I mentioned, a little bit of some of the challenges, the resource shortage. We are starting to get some traction with that and getting some more folks in. So that's good news for us. We just continue to plug them in as we get those available. And then steep and really inaccessible terrain. And that's where the balance comes with, not wanting to put our firefighters out in this really steep, rugged terrain. It's just not worth the risk for, what's out there. There's nothing really other than beautiful country which, don't get me wrong, is certainly a value. But there's no life risk and there's no property risk out there. So we're kind of steering away from really engaging any folks out in that difficult, tough country, and we're focusing our efforts towards those values that we've identified with the agency administrators here. And that'll be continuing to be our focus as we move forward in the incident. So that's what I've got for the operational update. Thank you.
There are two other things that I did neglect to bring up. First off, if your phone's on, please turn it off or put it on silent. And the other thing is, we are not doing questions and answers during the presentation. We will go through all of the different presentations and then we'll be done with that. From there, we will go on, and you'll notice in the back, we have 4 big maps out there. And at those maps, over here, we're gonna have the county sheriff, emergency management representatives will be there. Over there is the Bureau of Land Management. In the back, we'll have Tyler and our fire operations people and meteorologists, they'll be back there, and then the USDA Forest Service will be straight to that. The purpose of that is, you'll be able to, after this is all done, if you have questions, concerns, issues, whatever, of it within any of those areas, you could go and speak to those individuals one-on-one and get the answers that you need. So with that, we're going to move on to our meteorologist, Scott Stearns.
Yeah, hello everybody, Scott Stearns, it's a meteorologist. Can y'all hear me? Is this all right? All right, good. All right, so first things first, so I work for the National Weather Service, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and so when fires get large enough or are impactful enough, incident management teams come in, and oftentimes they'll request a meteorologist to do a couple things. The primary thing is firefighter and public safety, and then secondary to that, assist with planning needs. So as Tyler was talking about, looking out into the future, seeing what's going to happen, where this thing is potentially going to go. That's part of what I'm here to help facilitate, some of those decisions based on the weather expected in the future. So with that in mind, I just wanted to mention that I won't go too far into fire behavior. I think Tyler did a pretty good job of current situation and such. So I'll just say that, one of the things that we've been looking at, by the way, I just got here this morning about 8 o'clock, so I haven't had a full day, but one of the things that we've been looking at so far today is that fire behavior on this particular fire has seemed to increase quite a bit with a discontinuous increase in wind. So basically, it's probably not a surprise to anybody, but there are different things that can impact fire behavior, and oftentimes there's one or two factors that have to come into alignment that really throw it into a more serious day, so to speak. And this fire, what we've seen is alignment of fuels, of course. So what's burning out there, as well as wind. So when that wind kicked up this afternoon about 1 o'clock or so, really when we got closer to about 2 o'clock, that's when we saw some of the strongest winds, and that's when that column started to stand up over there to the east that everybody could see, and it continues to do so into this evening, of course. Good news is, obviously, those winds are going to decrease, as we almost always see here on the western slope as the sun starts to set. And so that said, there is a little bit of a time lag. The fire is going to continue actively, but it is going to slowly, decrease in activity through the night, as we do typically see. And by morning, there won't be much of a column out there, chances are, but we'll start the cycle again. So that's where we get into the forecast. As we look at tomorrow, we are looking at decreased winds. So based on what I just said, that's probably a good thing. We're looking at a little bit more of a southerly component on the wind, but really only gusting to about 20 miles an hour or so. And what we had forecast for today was around 30, 35 miles an hour. That's pretty close to what we saw out there, I think. So just kind of keep those numbers in mind as we look out over the next few days. I will say that we do have a bit of a warming trend that continues through around the Friday time, or drying trend that continues through the Friday time frame. We do continue to warm about a degree or two in terms of high temperatures each day through the weekend. And then it looks like we may start to not drop off, but start to decrease in temperature after that. So what's going on out here, there's a few different things, but we do have some potential for increasing moisture. You can see that in terms of the minimum relative humidity values. So by the way, pause a second. Generally, so this is called the fire weather matrix, and generally green boxes on here are good, such that we expect lesser fire behavior associated with that kind of weather. Yellow is somewhere in the middle, and then red is more concerning. So that will potentially lead to more extreme or higher end fire behavior. So as we see with the relative humidity boxes here, we have a lot of red the next few days, but we're starting to get into yellow, it looks like, as we get into next week. So that's indicative of increasing moisture that's going to be moving through the area. Now, it's not significant enough that it's going to provide wetting rains, it doesn't appear at this point, but it is enough that it is going to decrease fire behavior, at least in theory. Again, that's a week out when we get there. But essentially, we do have increased winds, and for that, we have a fire weather watch right now, which is in effect for Thursday. It looks like conditions will be pretty similar, honestly, on Friday. So both of those days, we're looking at sustained winds right around 15 to maybe 18 miles an hour, and those gusts will be close to 30. So remember, today saw gusts to around 30, 35 miles an hour, and that was the result. We're looking at the same kind of conditions on Thursday, Friday. The only difference is they're going to be just a little bit warmer, just a little bit drier. So even if the winds aren't quite as strong, it's still a couple concerning days coming up in the future. So tomorrow, a little bit of a down day in terms of what we have been seeing the last couple days. And then we increase again Thursday, Friday. As we get into the weekend, thankfully we lose those winds, and we see a little bit of a northerly component here in the winds. So west-northwest winds. Don't be too worried about that because it looks like they will be quite light. Matter of fact, I would say about a normal day here on the western slope, so to speak, maybe even a little less than that. So that's the prognosis, so to speak, for the next several days here. That's all I've got, but I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. So our next presentation will be with your, forgive me when trying to pronounce Ouray. I finally got it. Your Ouray County Sheriff, Perry.
Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me? I've met a lot of you, and I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of you. And for those of you who I don't know, I am devastated that it is for this reason that we are here tonight. Because we are all residents in this county, and we love this county, and that's why we are here. And for a lot of us, there's fear right now that we're feeling. There's sadness. When I look up the mountain and I see what's burning right now, memories come rushing into my mind from all the years past that I've spent in these mountains. And it's hard to sometimes separate those feelings from what my duties are as a sheriff. And that fundamental duty that I have is to protect you and to protect the life safety of the people that are here in this county. And I want to give a shout out before I kind of get into the evacuation stuff to all of our first responders, to not only law enforcement, but EMS who've been staged and working tirelessly as well, and the freaking amazing job that our firefighters have been doing. Now, for some of you, you know that I live in the city of Ouray. And when I saw that initial fire starting to work over towards the city and creeping up at the Bridge of Heaven, I was scared. I was scared for my family. My family has 3 or 4 go bags now ready to go, just in case something else happens. For some of you, you've already been evacuated. And that is in itself very difficult, very traumatic. And I want you to know that we know that and we care about you and where you're at now, and we are trying and wanting to get you back into your homes as soon as we can. This is, again, going back to life safety. So when we have trigger points, or when we see where a fire is and where there's going to be fire activity, suppression, attack, and we're going to have active folks working in that area for life safety, we have to get people out of those areas. And it is hard sometimes because we're leaving behind, when we have to evacuate, everything with the faith that it's going to be there when we come back. And not knowing is oftentimes the worst part. So I want you to know that these folks that have been working this fire have done an incredible job protecting your homes. Absolutely incredible. For some of the evacuees, we had an evacuee meeting here a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. My days are running all together. And one of the concerns, obviously, is being able to get back into your homes and get those necessities. Food that might be in the refrigerators, freezers. And we have at this point, aside from above County Road 14, up in the Lake Lenore area and stretching out to County Road 14, all the other properties we've been able to restore at least the utilities. So your fridges, your freezers, everything is turned on. So if you weren't notified on that, it is turned back on. We really do want to help out, and if there is an absolute need for you to get into your home, we are providing escorts to do that. I don't have a time frame when we can get back into our homes. And we might even hear a little bit. Is that even better?
Yeah.
I guess I have to put my mouth right on it, so I hope these guys aren't sick. All right, so with the evacuation, so everybody I think in here is pretty familiar with what we have at this point. So right now, we have evacuated all of the County Road 14 area. That is a full evacuation. Down below that, we have a couple different subdivisions. We have help me out, everybody. Panoramic, thank you. And we have the Panoramic Heights, and then down below that, as you move further north on the highway, we've got Redstone, we've got White House Vista Lane, we've got Portland, we've got all those other homes all the way up to the cemetery. Everything on the east side of the highway has been evacuated up to the cemetery. Everything on the west side, from that point, from Whispering Pines north, has been a pre-evacuation. So I'm hoping that you all have been getting some of the notifications. I can tell you, I haven't. So this is one of the issues that we had with the Sims fire here a few years ago, was the communications. And not only do we have an overloaded system trying to get messages out, but we also had a cell tower that was damaged and destroyed in this fire. So if most of you were on Verizon and you're not getting those, there's a reason why you weren't getting the messages if it was via cell phone, and that is because of that tower. We are working on that. I think some of that has actually been restored. We had a cell tower that came through that they were trying to get that put up outside of the city of Ouray, and I know there's actually a city of Ouray booster also within town. It should be helping a little bit. It doesn't help me. So at my house, I still don't have cell phone coverage, and I live in the city of Ouray. So I understand these problems that we're having right now, and when it comes to messaging, which we really want to make sure everybody's getting the correct message, we're trying to figure that out the best we can. And I am deeply sorry if you haven't been receiving regular messages. We will and we are trying to improve that every day. So just real quickly, everybody who knows what the system's been in the past, when we talk about evacuations, we had a three system process. It was number one, we used to go by the get ready, and then it was get set, and then the last one was go. It was go time. So that has changed recently, and our process now is the first stage is it's a pre-evacuation notification. Some of you have received those messages, and that is your preparation stage. You know that something might be coming. The second stage is a voluntary evacuation stage. The third is mandatory evacuation. So the way that goes is we have trigger points, and in that very first one, if we recognize that the fire is coming into that direction, we know that there potentially could be life safety issues, we're gonna get everybody thinking about it. And that's that preparation piece. Then that second piece is when that threshold comes down further and we have a trigger point of where that fire is and it's getting closer and closer, then we have the voluntary evacuation piece. Then the last one is it's go time. We have to evacuate now, mandatory evacuation. So far, we have had the first one, pre-evacuation notifications, and then we've had mandatory evacuations. In multiple situations, this fire has moved so quickly and so dangerously that we didn't have time to go through that second process. So you might be wondering, I only got the one, or it wasn't in the order that they said it was going to be, and that's because of the fire dangers. Now, I will tell you, I kind of made my folks mad today because of the system that they use. Is different. It's not one that we have used before, and it's an incredible system. And we're going to talk just a little bit. I'm going to actually have Tyler come back up and talk a little bit about it. But what it does is it kind of breaks these areas that are of concern into geographical locations and regions. And we have them numbered. So you can see here, 25, 30, 26, 31. We have them numbered so when it's time to put out messaging, it's easier for us to do it at one time rather than try to figure out, okay, this road needs to go, this road needs to go, this road needs to go. Today we had a situation where I was on County Road 12. I was watching that fire come down. I was seeing fire come down. I knew people were in Four Corn Road. I made the call right away to put that in mandatory evacuation in Cow Creek. Well, what that does is that triggers the entire 25 zone. So we have 10%, in my mind, it was 10% that needed to absolutely be evacuated because that's where that fire was coming. And the 90% on the outside of that was not. It was more in the voluntary or potentially even just the first stage of preparation. So I'm learning too. And it's a process, it's an evolving process for all of us. And we're actually working together to find better lines to where it might make it easier for those evacuations and those messages to go out. But I want to talk real quickly about the actual messaging and how that is sent out. And I've invited Jennifer Peterson, who is our PIO for the county, to join me and actually just kind of explain to you how that works and what systems we use. So with that, Jen.
Okay, I'll do a mic check. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. More? Can we shout? Got it. Okay. First up, I just want to see a raise of hands. Are you signed up for Ouray County Alerts? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is why I've been pushing this for years since I started with the county. It is for this reason. And yes, we are having issues with cell coverage, but those messages are going out, and I am working tirelessly, hours, making sure that you are getting valuable messages. A difference in the messages, though. They are geographically specific to evacuation zones. As Sheriff Perry said, we have these zones. And so when I send out an evacuation notice, it goes to that zone specifically so that I'm not scaring the people in Log Hill when we're evacuating something way down here. I'm trying to prevent chaos and mass hysteria. And I know that makes sense to some and maybe not, but that is the whole process of this. So if you have not gotten an evacuation notice, that's good because you are not affected right now. We have an interactive map on the county website right now. You can go to that map, you can enter your physical location of your house and see which zone it is in. And so I encourage you to go to the county website and look at that so you can know where your house falls in this whole mapping area. So we use a couple different systems. There's IPAWS, there's WIA. IPAWS is the integrated, somebody help me with that. Public awareness or something. It's called IPAWS. And so that is, when you get those crazy sounds on your phone, like the Amber Alert or something, that's what those are. We use Ouray County Alerts for our own community messaging. So if you ever get my messages that says Highway 550 is closed to a fatality, that's me sending that out. We use it for internal, community messaging, but also it's a backup for IPAWS and the WIA system. So we use them in conjunction together as best we can. The WIA message, the IPAWS message is going to be smaller. My Ouray County Alerts messages are usually a lot more detailed. We always encourage you to go back and check on the Ouray County websites. We have lots of resources out there. We do post things to our social media accounts. I know not everybody uses social media. I wish I didn't have to use social media. It's driving me crazy right now. But it is out there. We try to share it in as many possible places as we can. Another point, if you see some bad information out there, please direct those people to the proper county channels. That is vetted information that is coming from our partners. Send them to the Gold Mountain Facebook page or the NC web page. That is vetted information. There's a lot of social media presence out there, and some of it is not actually accurate. And that really puts a damper on what we are trying to help, move forward. So I think, was that it?
That's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Jen. So one thing that I wanted to touch on as well is when we do have evacuations that have occurred, one of our other responsibilities and something that we take very seriously is the security piece of this. We want to ensure that your houses are safe and secure when they have been evacuated. So we have a lot of law enforcement that are coming in. Not only our folks are working around the clock, but we also have other law enforcement agencies, as you've probably seen at different places throughout the county. Montrose County, Montrose Police Department. We have other sheriff's offices that are going to be offering assistance. As this progresses, we are working on getting even more in to help secure these areas and ensure the safety. That is a priority for us. But I also wanted to mention that it is a critical time right now for us to really band together, because these are the hard times. And it's these times when we're together that we're the force and we're the village that it's going to take to get through these hard times. And I know, because I've seen this community work for the last 13 years as I've been here in law enforcement, and it works, and you come together, and it's incredible. And so I just always want to say, it's on you all of the great attitudes that you have that help us all get through this. So thank you all. And last little bit that I wanted to touch on is the sheriff isn't always the bad guy, just so you know. I don't have social media for a reason. We are trying our hardest, and we are doing everything we can. And certainly I'll be over here in this corner. If you have direct questions that are law enforcement related, love to chat with you, and let's figure some stuff out. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sheriff Perry. We appreciate all the information that you've shared with us. Our next speaker is Dana Gardudio. She is with Grand Mesa, Uncopadre, and Gunnison National Forest. She's the Ouray District Ranger.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me in the back?
Yes.
Okay. I really am having to really twist this microphone pretty close here. So anyways, going into this incident today, fire was already in the forefront of my mind, and I'm sure many of yours too, knowing the type of winter we had. And we've been preparing for this all spring and hoping that because we're so prepared, of course, it wouldn't happen, but here we are. And no matter how prepared we can be, and no matter how much training and fire experiences I've had working with incident management teams and on fires in different parts of the country, it feels different when it's in your backyard. And I would be lying if I said it isn't emotional at times working through this incident. What's helpful for me in getting through this, and the sheriff touched on it just in his closing remarks, is knowing that I've got the support of the people who are in this community. We've had tremendous response from our first responders, as you heard earlier, and the interagency efforts that went into that initial attack phase. We've got great cooperative partnerships with the county here in Ouray and the other counties that are now starting to anticipate feeling some of the impact of this fire over in Gunnison and possibly Hinsdale counties. And I think I feel really proud that I have this community support and these partners to work with, and I think it's been fantastic and is really helping all of us be support for each other as we start to move through the different stages of this fire. My thought is, of course, still on what's happening currently, but as the team pointed out, and they've been incredible bringing in a huge resource for us in 24 hours, have done an incredible amount of work to help set us up for success and start to get ourselves better organized and starting to think about how long this fire is going to be with us on the landscape. And while none of us have the answer to that right now, I'm gearing up for this being a marathon and not a sprint. So thinking about where we're going, starting to be more dialed in on strategy, what we're doing, how we're going to respond, and how we're going to be able to support each other for the long haul, not just in the short term, is something I think about, because this team will be here for a couple of weeks. We may move through other folks and cycle more people in. But at the end of the day, at some point, this fire will come back to us here locally to live with for the long term. And I really am optimistic and think that at the end of it, we can come out stronger as a community and have these relationships built and strengthened at the end, and feel like we've done a great job of taking care of each other and addressing what's ahead of us on the landscape. So thank you all for the support, and I'll be in the back to help talk with anyone and answer any questions you all have.
Thank you, Dana. Our next speaker is from the U.S. Wildland Fire Service, and Mike Nagel.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hear me all right? All right, so my name is Mike Meagle. I am with the U.S. Wildland Fire Service. I will go ahead and give a little bit of background on that for folks that may not be aware. So as of this year, the four departments, or the four agencies within the Department of the Interior with wildland firefighting responsibilities, which would be the Bureau of Land Management, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the National Park Service. The fire resources within those agencies were consolidated into our new agency, the United States Wildland Fire Service, with responsibility for firefighting for the Department of the Interior. Part of my duties with this new position are providing agency administrator support for any of the DOI agencies. So I'm here on this fire on behalf of the Bureau of Land Management. I do want to echo what's been said a couple times. Just want to recognize the tremendous support that the team working this fire and all the firefighters have received from the community, and really want to recognize the tremendous efforts put forth by the initial attack, first responders, firefighters during the initial phases of the fire, including those local firefighters. Thank you. So on behalf of the BLM, we don't have a lot of land that's been involved in the fire so far, but we are looking out further where this fire might progress, looking at that BLM land, the values at risk on that land. Huge part of that, of course, is the public safety aspect. So in coordination with the Forest Service, we have enacted an area closure that includes the Forest Service land and the BLM land that's most likely to be affected or that folks are using to access those areas, all in the interest of public safety. And yeah, with that, I've been working with Andy Laka from the BLM as a Bureau representative. If this moves into the Gunnison Field Office, be working with folks from the Gunnison Field Office of the BLM. We're working in coordination to make sure those values are protected. And tonight we'll be back here at the BLM map to answer any questions that folks might have. Thank you.
Before we get to our closing presentation with our incident commander, one thing that we did want to show you, we talked about the interactive map. We want to show you how that works. Just demonstrate a couple of searches.
Yay, all right. Okay, who's got someone on the front? What's your address?
61 Mountain View Drive.
61 Mountain View Drive. Can we enter that in? There you are. You're in zone 13. You were evacuated, right?
Yes.
Well, it's right. All right. Do we have another one? Maybe.
210 Portland Road.
Which one?
210 Portland Road.
210 Portland Road. There you are. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Great.
That means go home.
So yeah, that it's easy. It shows you this location is under a mandatory evacuation. If you have friends and family that they have, seasonal homes, you can help them, give them this tool to go and look, and they can find out too. So, anybody have an address they can share from County Road 17, Western Pines area?
373 Elk Ridge.
373 Elk Ridge. I think it's 373. Yeah. I think it's 2 words. Yep, there it is. Okay. Well, it says this location is not status for evacuation. So that probably means it is pre-evacuation. Pre-evacuation, yeah.
No, there's no
No,
status,
there's no
that's
status.
good.
It's
No
actually
status
down
means
below
good.
that
Yay. Okay.
Who's got an Idlewild address?
47 Marshall Court.
47 Marshall Court. Okay, this location is under pre-evacuation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Winning here with the map. Okay. Yeah, so it's easy. So share that tool. Encourage your family, your friends, everyone. If they have a home in Ouray County, go to this map and they will give OurayCountyCO.gov. Yep. You're right. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ken. We appreciate that. We definitely wanted you to see how great this tool is and how easy it is to use. With that, we are going to close our presentations with our incident commander for the Rocky Mountain Complex Incident Management Team 3, Casey Cheesebro.
All right, thank you, Cass. I'll just take this opportunity, since we were talking evacuations, to just explain a little bit further why we use the process that we use as a team, why we're working with the county and our partners to implement that process. One of the biggest challenges, and I'll talk a little bit more about what is a complex incident management team, what do we do here shortly, but one of the things that's inherent in the nature of our team is we come from all over the place. Our firefighters come from all over the place. Our fire line leaders come from all over the place. We don't often know those local road numbers, especially in the first couple of shifts on a fire. We don't know what the locals call the roads. We don't know what those are. And so the zones, we know numbers. We can count at least to 100, most of us. And that helps those folks when they're out on the ground, the folks that can see the fire behavior, that see where the fire is spreading, they can call in and say it's zone 21. They don't have to worry if it's Elk Ridge Road or somebody knows it as something else, or Pat's place, or up by Bob's place, whatever it is. So that helps our firefighters communicate quickly, efficiently back to the command post so we can talk with the sheriff's office in the various counties and get those evacuations ordered as quickly as possible. So that's just a little background of why we do that. Thank you guys for your patience with that. I wanted to start off with some thanks. I know other folks have said it as well, but it's worth repeating. Thanks to that initial attack crew, the Type 3 team that had this fire before we transitioned command last night. They did a tremendous job. We'll talk a little bit about some of the successes already that we've seen on the fire, but most of the success to this point was really on the backs of your local responders, your local Type 3 teams, and the work that went on specifically down on the 550 corridor around Ouray and up in that Lake Lenoir area. So really, again, tremendous effort by those folks before we get started. I want to pass on, again, one of the things that, again, just the nature of what we do as a complex incident management team coming in from out of area, I always say we inherit the relationships that exist in these communities before we get here. So the relationships between the counties, the state agencies, the federal agencies, their relationships with the public, we come in and we just have to work with what's here. You guys are very fortunate with the professionals that you have that live here, work here year round, and the relationships that they've built. So it's made our job very easy to get up to speed in the last 24 hours when those relationships are good. So I just want to acknowledge those folks and all the work. That's years and years of work to build those relationships and foster those relationships. We get to reap the benefit when we come in, when it works well. So thank you to those local agencies for having those relationships in place. Okay, what is a complex incident management team besides kind of a long thing to say, kind of a mouthful? Unfortunately, we go to some communities where we're like the fifth team that they've seen in 5 years, and they're like, don't tell us again, we know what you guys do. But I gather there's not been a lot of fire history here recently, so I'll give you a little bit of background on what our team is, what it does. We're an interagency incident management team. So we're made up of local fire agencies, state fire agencies, federal fire agencies, some folks that have retired from those agencies but come back to work. It truly is a really interagency effort. We roll out typically with around 90 people just on our incident management team. That's not counting the fire engines or the hand crews or those folks. That's really just the incident management team. And so that's the things that we focus on. I'll just kind of run through some of the sections that we have. A safety officer with the medical unit. Those are the folks that ensure our firefighters are safe, that coordinate any medical response, that make sure we have ambulances and medical assistance near where the firefighters are working. So if we do have an unfortunate event, we can get our firefighters to safety quickly. We've got our liaison officers that work with the cooperators in the area, that work with the stakeholders, the utility companies, and those folks to make sure that we're getting up to speed quickly with what the local concerns are, and we're working effectively with those folks. Our public information section, you're getting a front row seat to what they do. They help us get this information out, make sure that we're communicating with you, again, accurately and in a timely fashion so that you know at all times what the fire is doing and what the team and the first responders are doing to respond. Our operations section, you heard from Tyler. Tyler and his other operations section chiefs supervise pretty much the entire firefighting effort on the ground and in the air. So all our aviation resources fall under that operations section. All the engines, the hand crews, everybody out on the ground works in that operations section. We've got a finance section that makes sure that all these resources, the agency folks, the contractors, all the things, the outhouses, everything that we have gets paid for at the end of the fire, so that everyone that comes here and works or provides a service or a product to the incident gets paid in a timely manner. We couldn't do it without our plan section. Those are the folks that are, you heard from Scott, our meteorologist, our fire behavior folks, our GIS specialists. They're making sure that we have all the information possible to predict and plan out where this fire is headed, make sure our firefighters have the products that they need to know where the fire's going, what we're doing to keep up with it. And, let's see, I knew I was gonna trail off and lose one there. Our logistics section, we couldn't do it, that's the last one, but, you know, we come in with 90 people. I don't know where we'll end up personnel-wise on this fire, too early to tell. It's not uncommon for us to end up with 900 to 1,000 firefighters. And so the logistics section really is focused on, you know, how do we keep that firefighting effort going? A busy fire like this, at least for the near future, we're gonna have folks operating on the fire line 24 hours a day for the entirety of the time here. So the logistics folks are kind of the backbone, the power behind that effort, making sure we've got fuel in the vehicles, our firefighters are fed, they're rested, they have the supplies they need, all of that stuff. And so, anyway, it's kind of a long answer, but that's what a complex incident management team does. I'm fortunate to lead the team that I have, to a group of true professionals from all over the Rocky Mountain area, a few from even outside that area. We're happy to be here. It truly is. It's a great team. I'm privileged to lead these folks. We're happy to be here and provide the best service that we can to you all as you go through this tough time. Let's see. I want to talk just a little bit about how we come up with our strategic plan, how we come up with what are we going to do with this fire, and some of the considerations that we look at when we do that. First of all, you've heard folks talk about the critical values. That's one of the first conversations. Geez, Dana, I think probably one of the first things I asked you on the phone 2 days ago, what are your critical values? So that I can get that to our operations folks. They can start looking on the map. Where's the fire? Where are our values? How can we protect those values? Once we start to talk about what's going to be effective or successful at protecting those values, we immediately start to talk about firefighter safety. Can we do it safely? So as we start to come up with ideas, we're brainstorming. Firefighter safety is number one in our mind, as well as the public safety. And so what are those risks to our responders in there? Can we get somebody out if they get hurt? What are the likelihood that somebody does get hurt? What's the fire behavior? Anyway, you get the point on that. Next is kind of our final consideration as we start to build that plan or come up with those actions is probability of success. You guys are seeing the conditions. You saw the winter that you had or didn't have in this area. You know what the fuels are like. You guys have it all over. You see it. No surprise to you probably what the fire is doing up there. And so probability of success on this incident is pretty challenging. The way the fire stood up and moved today, you guys probably saw what I did, that around 1 o'clock, I was kind of wondering, geez, are we looking too far out? I mean, these guys were already looking out at Silverjack Reservoir and into the Cimarron drainages. Look out there at noon, I'm wondering, geez, are we too far out in front of this thing? Is it not really going to go anywhere? And 2 hours later, it's doing exactly what our ops folks thought that it had the potential to do, and moving down that Cow Creek drainage up into Owl Creek Pass. So when we're looking at probability of success, throwing a bunch of firefighters up there to try to dig line when the fire is moving like it is, that's not going to be successful. And so that's why you're hearing the talk about some of the indirect tactics, looking at those big natural features, some of the pre-existing the road systems, those types of things, point protection strategies. That's why we're talking about that, as well as that responder safety. You guys know you recreate here, you live here. If somebody gets hurt way up in one of those drainages or on one of those ridge tops, we're going to have a problem getting them out. And so we're not going to take that risk, especially when our probability of success is low. So as you guys are hearing in the coming days, what's our plan? What are we doing? Hopefully that helps you kind of understand what we're looking at and why we may be doing one thing over another or not doing something that seems like it could be an option out there. A couple of the challenges, I mentioned the fuels and the fire behavior. One of the questions we get sometimes, how come there's not more aircraft flying? I'll just say the wind that we've had the last couple of days has limited severely our ability to safely, again, back to that firefighter safety, that includes our aviators. We haven't had the ability to fly a lot of aircraft purely due to that aviator safety. This is pretty complex terrain. Luckily, I don't fly. I don't ever want to. Don't even like riding in the things. But I understand from the people that do that this is a tough place to fly aircraft, even on a good day with all the terrain influence that you guys have. And so you throw in the winds that we've had, throw in today the amount of smoke coming off of that column. Visibility is quite limited in there. So that's why we're not seeing a lot of aircraft. And again, we're not going to use those aircraft if it's not going to be successful at containing the fire or protecting the values. So we're not just going to fly up on every little smoke on every ridge and throw water at it if we can't back it up with firefighters on the ground. would be a waste of money, but ultimately an undue risk to folks that's not going to be successful. Other challenges that we've had, somebody mentioned the limited resources, and so you guys, I'm sure, are aware, as am I, how many fires have gone on here in the last couple of days, some of the tragedy that we've experienced in the wildland fire community near to here. It got busy very quickly, and so the resources that were around, there was a lot of resources in the area, a lot of resources specifically in western Colorado. They got sucked up pretty quickly with all that fire activity. Now we've got fires over on the Front Range and things going on, and that's just in the Rocky Mountain area. Activities picked up nationally, and so there are some challenges with getting those resources. You know, nationally they've got to balance all these different fires with the resources that are out there. Tyler and his group have done a tremendous job of painting the picture up to the regional folks, up to the national offices of what our needs are and what we have threatened here, and we've competed so far very well to get the resources that we need, but that is another challenge out there. I don't like talking about the challenges too much, so let's focus on some of the success that's been had. I mentioned that initial attack effort, tremendous. You know, the city of Ouray, some of the first pictures I got of the fire as we started to hear word that we may get an order. You guys were seeing it out your front door, your back porches, was pretty alarming right there to the city of Ouray. That situation around Ouray looks a lot better today than it did a couple days ago. So I'm calling that a success. A lot of those structures at Lake Lenore, other things along that 550 corridor, the fire's not out there by any means, but the fire activity is reduced. We're well staffed in those areas with our firefighters. We're feeling really good about our probability of success in those areas. Our evacuation planning, you've mentioned, it's been mentioned several times. Really love that map. Thank you guys for the show and tell. It's kind of like a game show host. You know, throw an address up, but that's a huge step. You know, as we mentioned, we took the fire over at 1800, 6 o'clock last night, and I feel pretty good about where we're at. Now, I would have loved to have one more day before the fire did what it did and we actually had to use the evacuation map, but I've done this long enough to know I don't get to really pick when the fire does what it does. So I think we've made some great strides getting that put together. We'll improve those processes to make sure that we don't have any confusion and we're getting good information out to you guys. A couple things on that. I want to encourage you, look at that map relatively frequently. We will make changes. So as we draw those zones, somebody inevitably will come in and say, hey, did you know it would make a lot more sense to cut this? You know, the sheriff mentioned, you know, evacuating something that really half of it probably didn't need to be. So we want to avoid that. So there will be some changes to those zones. So don't assume that if you looked at it this morning, it's good to go. Take another look at it, you know, as you have time. Again, the alerts will be updated. They will only go to those. They'll catch those updates, but it's helpful to know when you see the numbers what zone you're in. So keep an eye on that for us. Huge progress today on getting the forest closure implemented. I wanted to acknowledge the Forest Service and the effort there. So as you guys will see on the upcoming maps, quite a bit of that national forest area is closed as well. So in addition to evacuations on the private land, we do have the Forest Service land under a closure. And we feel really good right now with the fire activity that's out there that we were able to get really all of, sorry, I shouldn't say most, that's not good, but all of the folks out of that Cow Creek drainage up to Owl Creek Pass. We've had folks from the county, the state, and the federal agencies over into that West Fork, working up above, the reservoir. That's the one. Yeah, sorry, drawing a blank. I said it earlier, but we feel really good about the progress that we've made, getting the folks that were recreating up there, that were camped up there, moved out of those areas, and where we're at with the evacuation status. So given the fire activity today, that's a huge success, I think, and just want to acknowledge all the effort that went into that. I feel like I've probably... I've probably talked long enough, so I will close with just reiterating what Dana talked about, the marathon, not a sprint. I mean, this fire is burning in heavy timber. You heard the weather from Scott. There's not a lot of relief in sight. When we're calling yellow boxes on the weather matrix a good thing, that's not generally a great sign for fire behavior. I like the green ones even better than the yellow ones, so hopefully we'll see some of those at some point. But, you know, with the growth today, this fire spread out and a lot of heavy fuels up there. Not a lot of relief coming, at least in the near future. So please bear with us. It is going to be a long haul. We're here to serve you again. I can't say enough about the team we have and the folks that we're working with. If you're not getting something from us that you need, or there's something that we could do better, please let us know. Reach out to our public information folks. Let us know how we can improve. If we don't know about it, we can't fix it. That's what I tell the agencies, that's what I tell our firefighters. So please let us know. We have very thick skin, but we will make our best effort to correct things as we know about them. Please let us know. All right, with that, thank you all for your time tonight. Thank you for coming to get the information. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Before we disperse, keep out a couple of things. On Facebook, every morning before 9 o'clock or right about that time, we have a video there with an operational briefing. So one of our operations section chiefs will give you an overview of what's going on with the fire and what we have planned for the day. So check that out on our Facebook page. And I just got a question from one of the residents here. What about donations? And I appreciate that question. We get that all the time. Our firefighters are provided and fed very well. And so it's people with your kind hearts and everything else, we often get water, socks, shoes, not shoes, but water, socks, and other types of staples that, snacks for firefighters. And we can't really do too much with that because, like I say, they're already taken care of. And we greatly appreciate. But there are a couple things that I can recommend. First off, like Casey said, we did have that tragedy nearby on the Snyder fire where we lost firefighters. The Wildland Firefighter Foundation takes donations, and they take tremendous care of firefighters' families when something like this happens. Some of those donations goes towards helping with that. Your Red Cross, that's another one that they set up those evacuation centers, they provide food, they provide information, they provide a lot of stuff. So, or even, check with your local fire department and see if there are anything that they might need. Food, probably not, but money, you never know.
We have a local donation that you can check out on our website too, ouraycountyco.gov. It is the Gold Mountain Fire Fund, something like that. So you can donate locally too if you want to. There are links to those as well. And Ouray Volunteer Fire Department is also accepting donations. You can check their information out as well. Sorry,
No, you didn't. Thank you so much, Jen. We appreciate it. With that, thank you so much for coming tonight, and good night.